So it's a methodology where you help someone else achieve what you want to achieve. And then we believe that those seeds will actually cause you to achieve what you want. Then just the whole world would start running their personal and their business dealings with this attitude and with this knowledge that if you want success, you have to help someone else to be successful. And if that becomes prevalent in the world, then the idea of competition will dwindle naturally. It will die a quiet death. And there's a joke in the ancient books that says we look forward to the day when the last person on this planet forgets what the word competition even meant. And that word is used for the last time on this planet because what it refers to doesn't exist anymore.
So thank you very much for coming. I want to ask you some other questions about DCI. So do you remember of a specific, what were you doing at the time where the idea of DCI popped up?
Yeah, I think that what the real moment of DCI's birth was years before we started DCI. And I guess it was in the late 1990s. And I was working in New York and I was really, really busy. And one day somebody called me and said, hi, I'm from Doubleday Publishers and would you like to write a book for us? You know? And I'm like, who are you? I don't know. I didn't know what's Doubleday. Doubleday at the time was the largest publisher in the United States. And he said, will you write a book for us? And I said, well, who are you? You know, because, you know, I said, what's your name? What do you do? And he says, oh, I'm Trace Murphy. I had this part of the publishing. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, whose books do you do? And he said, well, I just finished the Pope's book. And after that, I worked on I did Mother Teresa's book. And then I'm like, whoa. Then I was like, okay. And I said, what kind of book do you want? And he said, would you write a book about the ancient wisdom that you are always working with and translating? And I said, yeah, okay, I would write that. And I called that the book, The Garden. And then, I don't know, a couple of days later, I called him and said, I would actually like to also write a book about using these ideas in modern business. And could I write a book about that also? And he was really excited. And he gave me, what do you call it, an advance for both books. He gave me a very large advance for both books. And I had never written a book before. I didn't even know what an advance was. And we had a funny fight because I said, I don't need money. But he insisted that I take a large advance. And so I wrote those two books kind of at the same time. One of them, called The Garden, is very dear to my heart. And it has a lot of deep truths in it, you know. And then the business book is called The Diamond Cutter. And it's funny for me because the Diamond Cutter book became very famous. And the Garden book didn't become famous. So the business book came out, the Diamond Cutter came out while I was in a 3-year retreat. And I didn't really know that it had become famous. And when I got out of retreat, I found out that the book had become very popular. And then came the idea to start an organization to teach it to people because more and more people were contacting me and asking me to come and talk about it.
Do you remember what year was that, more or less?
It stretched out for a long time. I was really busy from 2000 to 2000 to 2003, I was in a silent retreat for 3 years. And then after that, I had committed to teach a sort of an advanced Geshe course. And that really, really took up every moment of my time. It took 7 years. And so I wasn't really ready to work on DCI until about 2008 or something like that. So I think the formal DCI maybe started around 2009. I don't remember.
Oh, very cool. And so I know how we all perceive DCI, but I want to ask you, what's your goal? How would you like DCI to be perceived as a company, as an organization?
It's a strange question because I don't think about it much. And I know that sounds strange. I don't think much about how people view the company itself. To be very honest, I'm so interested in the content that, as you know, I don't spend much time with the running the company and the management of the company. I hired a very good man for that, and I don't have to worry much about. But how I would like people to perceive the company, as we mentioned earlier, I think in our discussions we've talked about, in the long run, I would feel that DCI has done its job if people start using the principles of DCI in a global, cultural, instinctive way, meaning that it's not so much a company which has a course and you go take the course and you pass the course and then you go to the next course. In the long run, the way I would like DCI to be perceived is I would like it to be forgotten. And I would like to see it become anonymous. And I would like to see it become unnecessary. And that sounds like a strange goal for a company. But what I mean is, if you understand the principles that DCI teaches, then you have a whole different methodology for being successful in your personal life and your business life. And that methodology involves helping other people achieve what you want to achieve, and doing that as a method to achieve what you want to achieve. So it's a methodology where you help someone else achieve what you want to achieve. And then we believe that those seeds will help you achieve, will actually cause you to achieve what you want. So this is a kind of, in the end, it's a kind of thinking. And as we mentioned before, it's the opposite of competition. It's the direct opposite, diametric opposite of the idea of competition. So if DCI is successful as a company, then just the whole world would start running their personal and their business dealings with this attitude and with this knowledge that if you want success, you have to help someone else to be successful. And if that becomes prevalent in the world, then the idea of competition will dwindle naturally. It will die a quiet death. And there's a joke in the ancient books that says we look forward to the day when the last person on this planet forgets what the word competition even meant. And that word is used for the last time on this planet because what it refers to doesn't exist anymore. And that would be so fun. And then, the people who were offering courses to learn how to not be competitive, they would disappear long before that. I mean, people wouldn't even remember them, I think. And I know that's a strange prayer for your company, that you reach a place of success to where you're not needed anymore. But that's what I dream of for DCI. Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, of course. Who wouldn't want it? Actually, the next thing I want to talk to you about is last time we were talking from the historical point of view. You know, these great ideas always made it to the greatest leaders in history. You talked about how great kings used to have their sages that would give them this advice. How would you see that? I know that one of your other interests is to learn about the history of how that has evolved. So I was wondering how do you see that evolving to our days and into the future? Because I know that, thankfully, these ideas have survived and seem to be thriving. So what's your vision for that?
When I think of an answer as you speak, I think about religion. Mm-hmm. And so it's been a long journey for me to separate the religious aspect of these teachings from the practical aspect. The practical aspects of, for example, of achieving your goals by helping other people achieve their goals. That practical aspect is not dependent on any particular religion. And I have come to see or feel religion as that it can be, it's kind of a personal thing, mm-hmm. and it's a cultural thing, and it's a family thing, mm-hmm. and it's a national thing. And it's I don't know, it's a whole system of rituals or behaviors, ritual behavior. And then separate from religion, there are principles of, for example, achieving what you want by helping someone else to achieve what they want. And I think in how I feel, it's important to separate the ideas from their cultural or national or language or religious background. I feel like they are like when you use a cell phone, you don't question which country the signals have gone through or where the cobalt was mined or, who assembled it in which country. You don't really care. Mm-hmm. You just use the phone, And I think if we could divorce these great ideas from that cultural part of their heritage, it would be really advantageous if those ideas became as commonly used as a cell phone. Mm. Regardless of where it was made or who worked on it or where the minerals were mined or, if it was, people just used it. I think that would be, to me, that would be ideal. That would be the goal, that it just became a part of world culture. Mm. In the way that, for example, after the Middle Ages, after the bubonic plague, when they figured out that the plague was largely transmitted by rats, and rats are transmitted by lack of hygiene, especially sewers, that the whole European world, the Western world, they started to value hygiene or physical cleanliness. Private toilets were made, mm-hmm. flush toilets were made, people started washing their hands more frequently, things like that. And then that became independent from the historical source of it. People didn't nobody in my culture goes to the toilet and says, "Thank you, Black Plague," and "Thank you, Middle Ages." You know, they don't remember the circumstances in the world that were so bad that an entire civilization changed their hygienic habits. They don't remember that. And I kind of would enjoy it if that happened with these ideas. They just became like indoor plumbing. We call it indoor plumbing.
Right.
Having your own toilet in your own home. That was a very important advance in human civilization. And nobody appreciates it. You know, just take it for granted.
Right.
And I think if we do our job well, the idea of helping other people reach their goals in order to reach your goals, my dream is it becomes like indoor plumbing, and everyone just uses it habitually or naturally and doesn't worry about where it came from or why it started. And then in a way, it's divorced from its historical roots. The historical roots are extremely beautiful. And I'm sure there's some great stories about the first toilets that we don't know about. But it's not the important thing. The important thing is that people don't die from the Black Plague in our times because someone or some group of people embraced this new idea.
Wow. Incredible. I think this, wow, that's,
I don't want to say that our company is parallel to the toilet, the development of the toilet, but you understand.
Yeah, no. I think actually it's a beautiful metaphor.
Yeah, okay.
Even if we use a toilet, I think it's, perfect. So, I have another question for you. By knowing you from working with you for a while now, I know that you plan things way in advance, way ahead, and you see many angles. But the question is, has in this journey that you started, not just DCI, but all your companies, has anything unexpected come that you've liked, that you didn't necessarily plan it?
Oh, yeah. It is true, and I have trouble. One part of my life is very difficult because I do things for multiple reasons. So most often, not always, but most often, when I take an action, I see it like I was watching billiards, right? When people hit the ball and it goes ding, 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 ding. And I was working out at a gym with you guys in Asia, and on the television they had a billiards competition, and I noticed that these guys are thinking 3 or 4 or 10 balls ahead, and when they hit the ball, they are actually, I believe they're thinking 10 or 11 balls ahead or something, and so it is true that when I do something, normally I have 10 or 12 moves ahead, and there will be repercussions, and they will not just be company repercussions. They will be emotional or deeper philosophical repercussions of the things I do. So I'm not just thinking, oh, the taxes will be more, or I can hire people easier or something like that. There's a whole collection of spiritual or emotional and also moral consequences, things that I'm hoping will happen. And then there are many individuals' personalities are taken into consideration. So it's a whole billiards game. Think of a billiards game on 5 tables at once or something. So you hit this ball here, and then this ball, and this ball, and then so think of 5 billiard tables stacked on each other, and then when you hit a ball on one of they move on all 5 tables. And I do think like that, and I do think ahead like that, and I think ahead in terms of centuries, and then a very common is my wife will say, "Why are you doing that?" And then I'll say, "Well, honey, there's like, I mean, do you have an hour? I'll tell you." You know, and then she'll say, just to test me sometimes, she'll say, "Okay, tell me all the moves you've just made." And
Wow.
and I'll say, "Sit down," and then we'll talk for half an hour. And I'll say, "Those are the consequences I'm looking for." And so, yeah, I do think like that. I don't know, it comes from meditation or something, but, and I don't try to convince people that I'm doing that. I used to say, "Look, I'm doing this for many reasons." And then they would say, "Well, sit down and tell me." And I say, "I don't have time." That's not one of the reasons. And so I usually I don't tell people about it. And I've learned not to tell people about it. And I'll just kind of stubbornly pursue that course of action. And it will have, ideally, it will have many consequences in the coming days and years or decades. And then I just quietly enjoy it.
Awesome. Would you share a bit more about that? Is that if one were to try to get ready to think like that or to plant the seeds so that you can be a leader that thinks way ahead, what advice would you give that person?
I don't talk about it much, but I mean meditation. And I know most people relate meditation to spiritual goals or emotional goals or something like that. But it's a much bigger thing. And the results of good meditation can be the capacity to see into the future through many, what do you call that? Variations, permutations, to perceive into the future many permutations of what you do, many consequences, and consequences on consequences on consequences. So I think if you meditate regularly, and it doesn't have to be spiritual and it doesn't have to be religious, it's just spending maybe a half hour of your day in a different space. And in that space, in time, it's natural to see multiple permutations out into decades or longer. So it's just, but I also think I had the good fortune as very young, to meet people who knew the technique of meditation correctly. And so I think I don't think any kind of meditation would do that. I think a classical, well-trained meditator, independent of their religion or their spiritual values, their spiritual background, their religion or their sect or whatever, any person who learns to meditate accurately can enjoy these results. And one of them is to see very far into the future. And then your motivations and your immediate actions change radically. And so,
Amazing. Yeah. I know that we're a little bit off topic here.
No, it's all right. Maybe it is the topic.
This is very interesting. I've read many articles that scientists say that the humans only use about 2 or 3% of their mind's capacity. Would you agree?
Much less.
Wow.
I would say a millionth or something.
Wow.
Seriously, I'm not being cute or exaggerating. I think a normal human being uses about a millionth of their capacity. Seriously. And that the true capacity is almost infinitely more. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, and we have records of people who have achieved to unlock their mind.
I like this thing where somebody stole Einstein's brain. Did you hear that?
No.
After he died, they actually went and stole his brain, and I don't know where it is now, and I don't know what they're doing with it, but something like that. Yeah.
Wow. And it's okay. We'll continue through the different levels. I know that John Brady is one of your oldest friends, and I want to know if you can briefly tell us how do you met him and how do you see him as a DCI senior teacher?
To be honest, I'm very bad at remembering years. It's all a blur to me, and I don't worry about it. But I met him a long time ago, maybe 25, 30 years ago in New York City. He was a vice president for a very, very large company. It'd be nowadays it would be an online sales company, but it was the largest in the United States. And he was very high in the company. And he was very successful. He had a penthouse apartment across the street from the Metropolitan Museum at Central Park. If you go to the other side of the park, the person who owns that apartment is Donald Trump. So, I mean, this is really, that was the level that John was at. And very interestingly, he had already spent years studying meditation from some very great masters from Asia. And so when I met him, this is the person that I met. It was a great businessman, and at the same time, a very, very successful meditator. And what really attracts me about John is that his integrity as a person. It's a complete honesty and complete integrity. And I have not met more than 5 people like that in my life. I've been alive for a long time, and he's like that. He has real integrity, and he really cares about people. And so I think we're really lucky to have him as a DCI teacher, and the fact that he agrees to teach for DCI is a miracle for all of us. So,
yeah. Yeah, I mean, all of our senior teachers are themselves in charge of one of your major organizations. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about Connie, his wife? How did you meet her? And what do you think about that?
Again, my memory of this kind of thing is really bad for everybody. My short-term memory, I think it's a self-protection reflex that it would be too much to remember everything, and it would block me from thinking about new things.
Yes.
So I have no short-term memory much, but I can tell you I'll tell you what I remember, and she may correct us later, but what I recall is that she was coming to class. She lives in Canada. She was born in Canada. She grew up in Canada. She had a extremely successful restaurant in Western Canada, Vancouver, which she started and ran. And her family owns an organic farm there. And she has degrees in different fields. For example, she has a degree in environmental science. So she has been a scientist. And she also has a degree in medicine. She studied nursing. She did a formal nursing degree. She finished it. And she has this extreme balance. It's interesting for me that John and Connie became partners because she also has this extreme quality of integrity. She has a deep quality of integrity. And I think why she was attracted to medicine, or why she came to medicine, and maybe she doesn't even think of herself this way, but I think she truly cares about people's suffering. And she's very, what do you call it? She feels people's suffering. She's empathetic, extremely empathetic. And so she feels what people need, and she feels what people want. And she acts on it, and she's willing to act on it. And she's extremely capable as a human being. She's run large organizations, and she's good at it. But at the same time, she has this, to me, very tangible empathy that I have rarely seen in people. So it's kind of an odd combination. I think her capacity for empathy and her ability to, say, run a large corporation or something. You don't often see it together in one person, and she really has that. And so that makes her, again, I think, like John, a perfect professor for DCI. And I think we're really lucky to have both of them.
We are. I completely agree. The next person I want to ask is Nick, a dear friend of mine, and I know that you've also worked with him for a long time. Is there anything? How was it that you met him, and is there something you would like to know from your perspective to our audience that usually see him as one of our senior teachers as well?
Again, this is just off the top of my head, but I think Nick has this quality of he really loves people. He has this capacity to love people, and people sense it. You know, people who don't even know him very well, they sense it. I don't know how many people know it, but he was in an accident. I don't know, in his 20s or something, and his skull was broken, and he almost died. And then he had some kind of experience because of that. So he was always very intelligent in a rational way. He has a degree in science and engineering, which most people probably don't even know about. And he's very, very good in rational thought. And he also has a very unusual auditory sensitivity. He's very good with languages. He's very good with music. He hears probably better than the rest of us. And he hears nuances in music and in language. He's extremely good with learning languages. His accent is always perfect. And I think at the same time, especially watching him as a father, watching him, I was there at his wedding. I watched the whole thing come out. I saw him get married, and then in time I saw them have a child, and I watched Nick develop through the development of the child. And I think this whole experience has taken that engineering, auditory genius side of his mind, and then I add to that this deep capacity for love that he has learned, especially through his family life and taking care of his child and his wife, who has had some medical problems. So his willingness and his decisiveness to act when people need something, when people are hurting or people are in trouble or something, he has this extreme capacity to reach out and try to help them. And so I I don't know, those are the parts of Nick, and it makes him very endearing to people. And we're very lucky to have such a person as a teacher.
Yeah. I agree. Completely agree. The other person, Noor. How do you meet her, and what are the things that the audience would like to
You should
know?
ask me about Sage. So I was teaching. I was giving lectures in Romania. I think it was. I always get confused between Bulgaria and Romania and Czechoslovakia, but I was in Romania, and I was giving lectures there. And as I remember, and she may correct me, but I think she came to a dinner with some of the organizers, and she was, at the time, she was finishing a PhD in Romania, and she was also working for the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, and helping especially refugees from Syria, because she herself is a refugee from Syria. And so I met this lady, and I remember I was at a dinner. I think there's even a photograph. And I remember talking with her about her refugee work. And I didn't know at the time that she was also pursuing a PhD. And I was really, really impressed with her organizational skills and her warmth and her compassion for people. The way she talked about women refugees from many countries led me to feel, I had this feeling that she must spend a lot of her time thinking about how to help not just people who are in trouble because of wars or things like that, but also people who don't have opportunities because they were born as a woman or like that. And how compassionate she was about it, and how intelligent she was about it. I'm an old corporate guy, 19 years in corporate life in Manhattan. I smell talent like a dog, and I was like, so what are you up to, And she says, I'm kind of in between things. And I was like, wow, you got to come to the United States and work for DCI, and, we can help the refugees, and you can have, be a good opportunity for you. And so she agreed to come, and then she ran into this guy, Seiji Rao, and they got close with each other. And for me, that whole process was very enjoyable. I feel like a father, who watched people get together and build a family, and it was very satisfying for me, and kind of. I was really happy about it, and both yourself and her are very, very good at what you do, and you're kind of like the perfect teachers at DCI. So I'm kind of lucky to have two, and in English we say 2 for 1. It's kind of at the store you get 2 for 1. Yeah, that's the way it happened.
What about yourself? Is there something?
Yeah, let's talk about staging. Can I talk about you?
Sure.
Okay. This is how I remember it, and I do tend to romanticize things. But I know that you came to some of my talks in Latin America, and I thousands of people come to talk, so I don't get to know everybody. But I do remember, as you remember, there was a crucial moment. I was teaching in Guadalajara, and it was a funny place. It's a Christian monastery, Catholic monastery. And it has a very beautiful architecture. It's extremely close to a small village called Tequila, where they grow the, what's it called? Agave.
For tequila.
To make tequila. And it's kind of out in the countryside, outside of Guadalajara, which is an extremely beautiful city. And we were doing a quiet retreat outside of the city. And a lot of people were asking me, can I talk to you? You know, and there was, I don't know if you remember, but there was a walkway behind the buildings. And I remembered because it had a lot of coffee plants. And I had never seen coffee plants particularly. And I used to take that long walk with people, and they would tell me about their lives, and I would try to help them. And then I ran out of time. And I didn't have time to take everybody on this long walk. So I created a shorter walk, and it was a 5-minute walk. And I call it a walk and talk. And then I had a room, in the residential building. And I was speaking in an auditorium, small auditorium. And then people who wanted to talk to me, I would say, okay, walk and talk. And then you and I, you got to walk and talk. And I talked to you for 5 minutes or less than 10. And I remember we were walking through these beautiful, the architecture was very traditional Spanish architecture. Like, what do you call that place in Europe?
Malaga?
Where the Moors used to be.
Barcelona?
But what's the famous architectural place? What's the famous? Alhambra.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of like Alhambra. And we were walking through these arches. And by the time we reached the end of the walk, I was just starting Sedona College of International Management. And we were just buying the building, renovating the building. And it was way early. I didn't need to hire anybody yet. But you were perfect because of your background with multiple degrees in many countries and your business background. And I could see your personal integrity and kindness. And so it wasn't just all the degrees. It was, I can smell integrity also, and I can smell compassion in a person. So we were reaching the end of the walk, and I was about to reach my room. And I thought, if I don't grab this guy now, I'm going to regret it for the rest of my life. So I pitched you, and I said, how would you like to come and help start a new, college in the United States? And you could be like the director, and you could help us get it going. And you said you would probably agree. So anyway, you do have, you're perfect for DCI because DCI is global, as we call it, DCI Global. Right. And you have a global background. Culturally, you have a global background. Your education was in Europe, Australia, and Latin America. And so you already have a global outlook. And a lot of the prejudices that many people have because they don't travel much, you lost them a long, long time ago, and I don't think you even remember. So you have a truly multinational state of mind, even though you don't think about it, and you speak many languages, or you speak languages well, and you're also very friendly and very warm to people. So I think, I can smell a good opportunity. So anyway, that's our other professor, Seiji Rao. Yeah.
Thank you. What about, is there something that you would like our audience to know, something about you that they might not know, that I don't know that.
That's a good question. I guess that's the first thing that came to mind, is that I do have my demons. I do have my hard times. I do have bad habits that I have fought against my whole life. And I think most people who meet me on a professional level in my work, they think of me as some kind of special person or something like that. And in some ways I am. But I also have had my struggles in my life. And I've also had my own bad habits or bad mental habits also. And so I think when people think about me, they think, oh, he knows a lot of ancient books, or he has a lot of organizations. And they think of me as someone special because of that. But I think what most people can't appreciate, because I don't talk about it, is that I have had troubles in my life, in my character and in my personal, what do you call it? Emotional self that I've had to work on for my whole life. And I did it. I did it, but I don't talk about it. So I think that's something that most people don't know about me. So I have been through hard internal times, and I have come out the other side successfully. And I don't talk about it, but I think I'm very proud of that. Yeah.
Well, surprisingly, we still have a little bit of time, so I wanted to ask you, what's your dream? Or like, I don't know if you have a specific plan for that, but what's your wish? What's for this to carry out beyond our generation, both for the people that we know you now and for people in the future that might not know you? What would be your dream for DCI in terms of that?
Yeah, good question. There was a time in China, and I don't remember which generation it was, but I think it was Mao Zedong who said, "Let 1,000 flowers bloom." Mm-hmm. And it was kind of an opening up. It was encouraging people to take the great ideas of that time and express them in their own way. And I think as I get older, and something funny is happening with my close students, is that if they stick around, inevitably, for good or bad, they start to act like me also. So some of their habits, my wife starts to use expressions that I use, and it's kind of weird for me, but I see in the close colleagues who we've been together for 20, 25, 30 years. I see a very beautiful thing, I think, that we are studying together, and we are trying to live or walk the talk of DCI seed system, for example. And then we've had 10, 20 years to try. And we've all made similar mistakes, and we've all overcome those mistakes. And so my current life at age 71 is that I have many people close to me who have been trying hard for 10 or 20 years to follow the seed system. And then my life has become unreally pleasant because I'm surrounded by people who are dedicated to trying to live this idea, to be a living example of getting what you want by helping other people to get it. So I have this great pleasure to see people change in a very fundamental way over the period of 10 or 20 years. And looking at who they are now, as opposed to the time when I met them, I can extrapolate. You see what I mean? So I can sense where they're going after this, and maybe after I'm gone. Or they're, we don't know what will happen in the future, but I have the pleasure of watching the trajectory of people really working on the seed system. And I enjoy thinking about the planet they're headed towards or something. I can see the rocket halfway up. And then I can imagine the places where the rocket's going to, where they're going to land, and what they're going to build there is really beautiful and really fun to think about. And so I have that pleasure in my old age to see a lot of rockets on a very, wonderful trajectory to something great, and I don't mean great in a political sense or something like that. I mean great in a deeper sense. I see something beautiful coming, that when all those rockets land and build their colonies wherever they're going, I can kind of see that, and it's very satisfying and it fills me with a lot of hope.
Okay. One last question.
Okay.
What advice would you give to anyone who's interested in continuing your legacy and continuing your work so that they don't get lost in the way?
Yeah.
Like a compass to make sure that we achieve whatever your plan is. Is there something an advice that you would like to give to whoever wants to carry out your legacy?
I say it a lot, and then I think, you must know with your son that if you repeat something too often, they stop hearing it. But I do have a habit that every day, almost every day, unless something strange happens with my day, that I spend some time with the great beings of the past. So I don't do some kind of seance and invite the great people from the past to come sit with me or something. I don't have this capacity. But I do open a book of a great person, and I with great devotion, I listen to them every day, and I really, really listen, and I let them talk to me, and I feel like I'm in the room with them. I don't see them or like that, but I feel like I'm in the room with them, and I get this reinforcement every day. I get this support every day from the most beautiful people of history. I get to spend, because of books, I get to spend some good time, like serious time. And I take it and I protect it, as you know. And I spend time with every day I'm spending some time with a moral genius from the past, or you know, a person of greatness. Greatness meaning seed system greatness. And I think if someone thought that this work was useful or good for people, I really believe in this practice. And that's kind of why I tied it to putting away your electronics at night and opening up a book, and an old paper book that doesn't put electrical signals through your mind. And just, I lay down and I turn on I have a nice light, and I turn on the light on the side of my bed, and I turn it on, and I lay down and I relax and I get comfy, and then I read a few pages and I go to sleep with that also. And then when I wake up, I might meditate on it, or I might read some more. And I believe strongly in this practice, and it doesn't have to be formal study. It's not formal study. I don't work through a book from beginning to end or something like that. I kind of just trust my seeds, and I kind of just open a book at random. I have 10 or 12 books on my table, and I'm like, and I just look, and somehow I think this is a very, very important practice, and I think it would help anyone who wants to see this system continue, or would like to contribute to it, is to let those people talk to you once a day.
Great. Great practical advice. Okay, thank you very much. We'll continue through the levels to talk more about this in general and your story. But thank you for taking the time today.
Thank you for doing it.